I had a question about diet,
Okay.
and um, I think like for a while throughout just this process, I've wondered about. I ate raw vegan for like 16 years,
Wow, that's quite
and
commitment.
it started, yeah, it started mainly just because I always had sensitivities to food. And it seemed like when I took out the things that didn't bother me, eventually it just sort of practically led to that
Right.
way of eating,
Yeah.
that I felt the best that way. There were a lot of things, even like depression throughout life, that really lightened up when I changed that.
Mm.
There's also definitely the ethical side, like that does matter to me. And even as a young person, I was a vegetarian and stuff. Um, but I do wonder now, there are times when I wonder, because of the thing that will happen if I don't stay on that sort of strict type of diet, there's like a lot of guilt that arises, and
Mm.
there's stress, and I don't even know if it's all anymore around the sensitivities, or if this is sort of like a way a me is holding to an identity. It's hard to tell. Like I'll sort of like put a wrench in it, and I will just eat other things to sort of
Mm.
like just let that come up and see, what occurs with that. And then sometimes it's like, well, even me looking to see, well, what is that? What it still feels like a me energy,
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
like all of it kind of feels like it could be coming from that place, or trying to figure something out that's actually just like a biological preference. It's not really anything to,
Mm.
it's like this seems to work, and so you keep coming back to it, and it's just what it is. But I don't know, there's a little bit of a suspicion there, just
Yeah.
because of what will happen if that stuff isn't um, continually done. Like there are thoughts of gaining weight, there are thoughts of like feeling bad, or like my
Mm.
body not working as well, and which might not actually be occurring when I'm eating the other stuff, but almost like that has become a very safe way
Yeah.
to eat in a lot of situations. So I'm just trying to kind of like out it and see where it might be coming from, or if it's not even a thing and I'm just making it a thing. It's just sort of like a natural preference
Mm.
of this particular body and whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I have no advice on the level of like what you should eat or shouldn't eat and being healthy and not being healthy. In the end, like what you really long for is this moment. And, if you were homeless and ate out of the bins and ate really unhealthy processed food, that doesn't preclude freedom. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so there can be freedom in junk food, in, yeah, I'm not sure about alcohol, but I know that the sadhus in the north of India, some of them smoke continuously, like
Mm-hmm.
weed all the time. So it's not about putting stuff in the body. Um, but it can't be about putting stuff in the body because all of that appears in who you are. So I understand what you mean, wanting to get to the bottom of it. So wanting to understand where it comes from. If it comes from meing energy or not, because most probably your mind thinks then I can let something go or not think about it so much. But I don't think that that's the answer. I think that deciding what's right or what's wrong won't stop you thinking about it. It's like a habit to stay
Mm-hmm.
in these stories, any stories. And the freedom is in what you are, always in what you are, in every moment. So in those moments when your mind is saying, should I be a vegan or not a vegan, there is freedom happening. In what you like or in what you don't like, there is freedom happening. In the guilt of eating the wrong food or the bad food or the unethical food, like you don't have to be a vegan to get to this. You could be a full-fledged meat eater. I'm unsure about the alcohol one because the alcohol, it feels like that, like I see weed as different from alcohol for some reason. But like the alcohol feels like there can be freedom in alcohol, but it's like, why would the person be doing, but that's a different subject, we don't need to go in there. But it's, you can be a meat eater, you can, there's no, like in the end, the plants are alive, and in the end, when you take the plants from the ground, you're killing thousands and thousands of mice and insects. There's all types of.
For sure, I see all the contradictions with that stuff. It really is more the, it's not even that I think meat eaters are bad in any way or anything. It really is just more of like the sort of personal aspect to like what that is, and also how it feels like it does affect like the spontaneity of what it, like, because it's kind of dragging in something that I've done for a very long time, so it feels like it's somehow connected still to some sort of identity or
and it's something that keeps the mind thinking about itself, like which diet is right for me, and you can go in there and you can find the attachments to it, but what else is happening? So you can find the attachments, like what are you attached to, or what is it you're rejecting, or what is you're fearing? And that's an interesting exercise to do, but that's still an exercise for the person. But I'm not dismissing it and saying don't do that, but I'm just saying that also there is something happening in that that's free. So the mind is focusing on itself, focusing on fixing itself, focusing on getting to its deeper meaning, which is okay. That can really help release energies, but it's never going to end. Anything in the mind is never going to end. So what is it in every moment that's always ending? And this is so simple, it can be a bit unbearable for that mind that wants to work something out, or that mind that wants to release itself. So there is this endless invitation to freedom that's not in the mind, that's deeply relaxing and right here, that's experiencing, but not separate from that which is being experienced. It's not moving, it's not rejecting, it's not grabbing, it's not judging, it's not needing you to work anything out. It's just here, free. Right here.
Yeah, and it's not like it's not like there needs to be even an ignoring of those thoughts, just like a not grabbing. Really.
Yeah. It's just a slight shift in perspective, or that's a hard way to put it, but it's like a slight shift in your perception. Like it's like you say, it's not ignoring them, because that would be bypassing. And like that's a nice way to put it, not grabbing them, that there they are, but there's something else happening here, and that's all you ever long for. And the other stuff is, it's going to make your personality better or your health better, but it's not the important element. There could be a drought, and there could be all types of things that create different eating. Maybe not in America, but there could be shortage of food, so food is great for the healthy body, but it's not freedom. Nothing in this world will ever free you. It's so deeply relaxing, and it really isn't about ignoring or bypassing. It's something else is here that embraces the discomfort, the thoughts around it, the going backwards and forwards, should I, shouldn't I, the guilt. It's an absolute acceptance of all of that.
Yeah, the not grabbing versus the bypassing can be tricky at times because it's like I can feel the energy of, oh, that's one of those kind of thoughts. And so there is a feeling to just sort of ignore it coming around the bend, kind of like, oh, I know the feeling of that. And then in those moments, it's like, is that bypassing a little bit, you know, or is it just like knowing like the style of that thought and just, you know, we know that one, let's just ignore it, you know. So there's sometimes a little trickiness around that subtlety there of
and
which one is happening.
And notice that that is the mind, so the mind is like having thoughts about that, and that isn't healthy or unhealthy. It's maybe more beneficial than just being lost in it. And then what's that appearing in? So that's happening, and then there is just a slight shift in perspective that it's appearing in a spaciousness that's not grabbing or rejecting either. So it's not exactly talking to the thoughts, it's not calming the thoughts, it's noticing. Maybe the mind notices that there is these thoughts are happening, but then there's something deeper. So it's like a slight change in perspective that isn't thinking. That isn't an abstraction of the mind, but it's total inclusion of every thought that arises and every feeling.
Yeah, it's so funny because that can even sometimes be a subtle thought of the looking.
Yeah.
And so then it's like, yeah, but that's being seen. So it's just like, yeah, it can be a little bit of a fun house.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah, the mind can separate itself in so many different ways.
Like be a witness of that thought.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm seeing that, but that's still a thought.
Yeah.
You know, like, so
yeah, but I mean that's maybe like more helpful than other thoughts in terms of like settling the person down. But what we're talking about is no abstraction of the mind.
Yeah.
So there is something else happening here that doesn't require a thought. That doesn't require a perspective. It's just experiencing.
And it already happens. That's the thing. It already happens, and then the thought happens right after. Oh, I just saw that one. Let me look at that one.
Yeah.
But it was already seen.
Yeah.
So now there's just like those two that seem to bounce back and forth. Like, oh, well, it's actually the awareness sees it a second later, or like cognitively sees it a second later. It's like, no, it saw it at that time. But now you're adding another witnesser or something.
Yeah. It's so cheeky. And yet at the same time it's not. Like even calling it cheeky is just judging it too much. It's like there is the watching that's happening, and then in that there is play happening. Just like there is a plant happening, the room happening, there is these thoughts that are discussing freedom. And all of it's appearing in the freedom that's already conscious. Like the consciousness is prior to any thought that arises. Anything that's being experienced cannot be it. It's like so instantaneous. It doesn't need anything. It's like a shift in perspective from being those thoughts to experiencing this, but not from a perspective. Yeah.
Just from an already, really.
Yeah, and already. That's a really nice way to put it. And it seems like there needs to be a reminding of this for a while, you know. There needs to be hearing this again and again and again and again, like.
Because it really is obvious. Every time you bring it back to that, it's like, oh, I was in thought, you know, like, but because the thoughts now become around freedom, it sort of doesn't have the same kind of feel as previous kinds of thoughts. They're lighter, so it's like, oh, I'm still in that position, but no, I actually got caught again. And just like hearing someone say, but that's, you know, it's still, what is that happening in? And it's like, shit, it's true, I was out of it. Yeah, so there does need to be a reminding.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Lisa.
Yeah, thanks, Michelle. Yeah, lovely to speak.
You too.
Bye.